Tell me about Dad. What was he like?
Yeah, so my dad was a beam of light. He called me his sunshine, and I mean, he was my sunshine. And my favorite memories of him were dancing in the living room with him, putting on music, being in the car, him blasting the Beach Boys and Fleetwood Mac, taking family field trips down to Battery Park. So he would get off his shift at work, and right by his firehouse was right by the seaport, right by the World Trade Center. And so we would go to Battery Park, and as a family, we would take a family field trip rollerblading. He loved New York City, and he called it his playground. I think about him on that day, and he was one of the first people to get down to the World Trade Center, and he loved the Twin Towers. And listening to his voice, how he was getting up to the 78th floor of the South Tower, and how calm and collective he was, it just gives me so much, I'm just so much pride, and I'm so proud of him, and how being in such a scary situation, and how he was just so, committed to getting all those men and women home to their families. And I knew that, and this is something that I think about every day, how he wanted to get all those men and women home to their kids so they would have a parent back at home. And I knew he didn't know that he wouldn't come home to us, but even though he's not here, I want to be able to carry on his legacy. I don't think it hit me until probably a couple of days later. My mom sat me down and told me he wasn't coming home. In the beginning, I think it was just really chaotic for me. My childhood was just filled with a lot of memorials and ceremonies, and I have to say, my mom is the strongest lady I know. She kept it, she was always, had so much resiliency to her, and she rarely cried around me, and she would always talk about, this is what your dad would want, and kept us together as a family, and really kind of wanting to embody what my dad wanted for us. My dad's funeral was on November 13th, that's his birthday, and we were going to have a memorial service for him, and then a couple weeks before his birthday, they found his body, and so we had a funeral. And I remember I wrote to the mayor, and I said, I come from a really small town. My dad was a lieutenant, and would you come to my dad's funeral? And my mom said, you can write this letter, and we sent it off. And little did I know, my best friend also wrote a letter and said, Mayor, can you please come, for my best friend? And that day he came. Settling into grief was always difficult for me for a while. I felt like I just had to be happy. And my mom always described me as, after 9/11, just, putting on a smile and, and wanting to just be involved and stay active. And I don't think it kind of hit me more until I was an adult. And I think it was the way that grief hit me was a little bit different. And it just allowed me even more to be clear about what I want to do. And that is, I want to work with other kids who've lost a parent, who've been through the unimaginable. And I think the biggest thing is just to kind of embrace them and love them and let them know that how they're feeling and what is coming up for them is okay. It is your experience. Everyone experiences trauma differently. And I think the permission to be able to spread this to children, that it's okay to feel, it's okay to have emotions. And because I think that there is this idea to kind of see the positive in everything, which I've definitely taken on, but it's also okay to have your emotions, and I think to be nurtured in that as well. It makes me see life in a very different light. I think that I had to grow up very quickly, and in a very different way. I think that there are parts of me that I'm like, oh, did I lose a lot of my childhood? And there's truth to that, but also there's truth to so many gifts that I got from this experience of how I view life and how I want to, be connected to others. And right after 9/11, I went to a camp that was for kids who had lost a parent 9/11, and it was called America's Camp. And my favorite moment at America's Camp was when I became a counselor. Something that was really important from 9/11 that I took away was just, what it means to kind of just slow down for a little bit and listen to someone and just kind of take someone in, and being able to just lend the smallest act of helping hand, and which is really important. So